The pendulum is swinging on the use of pot, not only in Maryland, but also throughout the country. But where are we as a state? Are we headed for decriminalization or radical legalization? What say you, Ken?
Well, honestly, I actually wouldn't say that legalization is all that radical now. It's really starting to gain acceptance in multiple states, and the states that have fully legalized it are experiencing tremendous growths in their tax income.
Oh, God, yes.
So, I
It's a
would
boom.
say, absolutely
Yeah.
wonderful if we could have that extra tax income from it.
I was looking up Colorado that's done this,
Right.
In the past month, they collected $3.5 million off of
Right.
the marijuana sales. They expect, like, say, the year 2017 to 18 to be, grossing over $30 million a year from that. And this is earmarked, most of it, for education expenses,
Right. Well,
which, I think is a great thing.
And also, you also have to consider the savings as well.
Yes.
Because now if and even with decriminalizing it, okay, you've got a savings in that you're going to have fewer inmates in prisons on just marijuana charges.
Exactly.
But here is the problem. The problem in my mind is not just the decriminalization or even the legalization. The problem is some of these ancillary bills. For example, Delegate Don Morhaime, I believe that's the way you pronounce his name, introduced HB 1119, which would have decriminalized not only pot, but small amounts of other controlled substances, including cocaine, heroin, and other significantly addictive drugs. Option one. Option two, our friend Delegate Kurt Anderson from the city of Baltimore, HB 1362, look these up if you want to prove that I'm right here, sought to remove criminal penalties for robbery, burglary, and theft offenses where the perpetrator was a drug addict. So we're decriminalizing, it's like the insanity defense, but it's the...
I'm a drug addict.
I mean, the good
defense.
thing about what the first bill you mentioned is we can actually have the original form of Coke available in Maryland. Because
That's
I had a
true.
trace amount of cocaine in it.
That's true.
So, you have to question, are we doing this for public safety, which is really, in my view, one of the facets that government is there for, is for public safety? Or are we looking so we can add more money to the coffers so we can spend more money as a state?
I don't
think
see
the
that
issue,
how,
yeah.
I don't see, so yeah, if you decriminalize robbery, burglary, and theft offenses where the perpetrator is a drug addict, that reduces the prison population as
It
well.
also reduces the crime, too, because there are not as many people really going out to have to rob stores, to get some of this stuff. Look
wait a
at
minute.
Colorado. again.
So putting aside the whole idea of let's
is
make
marijuana we're
let's
talking
make
about
that
mainly
the
here.
same kind of a defense as insanity.
Yeah.
But all right, so let's say decriminalize small amounts of cocaine, heroin, whatever. Okay.
Why?
Well, just wait. All right.
Okay.
There are people out there who suffer from addictions to these substances who do not go seek help because it's illegal that they're using those substances.
Okay.
All right? There are countries over in Europe where the substances are completely legal. They are not taboo. Therefore, people aren't like, oh, this is illegal. I should try this just to find out what it's like. Okay? If they do try it, if they're foolish enough to try it, there are substance abuse programs to help them.
Well, we have substance abuse programs in Maryland.
But
Sure.
they don't have them all that great.
I mean, I think where we need to focus at is if we have people who are using these, class 1 drugs, is that we need to focus on having resources available to them to get them off of that.
Yes.
Okay, that's where we should focus. I don't like earmarks. Saying, oh, well, we're going to direct it to education because the only thing we have to do is look at the Maryland Transportation
No, but
Fund, how it's been
I'm just using
hijacked.
that as an example.
But, the fact that we're going through, and I think it's a slippery slope that we're going, okay, we're going to say, well, marijuana now. 10 years, what are we going to throw? Are we going to throw morphine out there?
Well, as it is now, there's all kinds of legal drugs like, all the opioids that are out there anyway for painkillers. This is how a lot of people get on the other ones. Now, like Ken is saying, in some countries in Europe, they've done exactly what you just said. Their prison population has shrunk. and their drug problem has actually decreased.
And I'm not about
Just to take one example is the country
but
of
I'm not
Portugal,
about
just
over
one.
prosecution of someone who has a drug problem.
But you still want to prosecute them.
But I think we have to set up a resource for them to get them off of the drugs. And but for them to get off the drugs, they have to want to get off the
Yeah,
drugs.
that's exactly the point.
Well, it's true if you're
And
an
that is the
alcoholic.
problem.
It's the same thing,
Exactly.
and that's all legal.
Well,
It's all legal.
Well,
It's been
okay,
legal
so
twice.
you know what? That's a great point.
It's all
you know
legal.
what? How did Prohibition work out for us?
Not too well, as we all know.
So
This
do
is
I, do I
exactly
hear
what it
from,
is. It's
do I-
prohibition
do
and
I-
something else.
So is the consensus on not consensus, are some of you suggesting that legalizing all drugs is okay?
I'm not saying legalize them. I'm saying let's not make it
Let's not
as much taboo.
criminalize.
Let's not make it criminalized. Let's try to help the people instead of punishing them for getting hooked on an addiction. All
Okay,
right,
what about
still
the-
go after
what
the
about the
dealers.
dealer?
Go after the dealers. By all means, throw them in jail and lock them up and throw away the key for all I care. Go after the dealers. Please go after the dealers.
So what about
But we're
what
talking
about
about
when there's a
marijuana
crime
first
committed?
here.
Because I could make the jump very easily if we're not gonna
But-
prosecute thieves who are addicted. Well, guess what?
Well, see that I agree.
Well, that's a
but
very
Jim,
different issue
that
than
was-
I-
some
you
one
employ
guy,
you,
you know.
you employ people.
Really?
Yes,
Those people have access to motor vehicles.
yes they do.
Do you have them submit to a random drug screen?
No.
If this became legalized, marijuana became readily available, would you suggest that your employees go underneath a mandatory drug screening, a random test?
No.
That's what you have to do for DOT physicals.
No, I wouldn't, but that's partially because of the size of the company and the particular people that I employ. I don't have that worry, but I could see
Well, how do
where
you know?
larger companies.
How do you
You'd be
know?
surprised.
You really would, because
You're kidding
when I was
yourself.
handling
And
the
I may be. I
Now,
may
You're
be.
kidding
when I was the
yourself,
DOT
Jim.
compliance officer for the business I used to work at, we had random drug screens someone pulled. I never expected.
Exactly.
Okay,
Right.
we had a pre-employment screening, and the individual tested positive for cocaine. He was a friend of one of the employees at our company, and you never would have suspected. So people do this behind the scenes, and they get addicted to things, and it really causes an issue. And as an employer, as someone who is liable for your employees' actions, you're almost incumbent
Yes,
to
yeah,
put them
but
out for a test.
I think you're going to get the last word, Henry, on that particular item. And up next, is Maryland's state song really racist? We report, you decide.